The Stage Door Show, celebrating the independent artist. With your host, Dave Hondell.
I'd give my heart to you if yours stopped beating, part your lips with mine. If you weren't breathing, you have no burden that I wouldn't bear. I'm not going anywhere.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Stage Door Show tonight. This is Dave Hondell. Tonight, we're fortunate and blessed to have with us one of music's best singer-songwriters who has shared iconic stages with legendary artists like herself. She has a fascinating autobiography out entitled I'm Not Going Anywhere, in which she shares her personal journey being an 18-year cancer survivor, and we're honored to be able to speak with her tonight. So please welcome Miss Kelly Lang. Thank you for joining us, Kelly.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm just glad to be here.
Well, we're glad to have you, and we're honored to have you. And I got to tell you that your book, which is it's an actual book, but you also have an audio book for those who enjoy listening in the car, and some people don't see very well. So you really spent the time to put this audio book together, which I think is amazing. And the foreword was done by your good friend, the late Dame Olivia Newton-John. So I know who has shared her own journey with health issues. So talk about the support you're able to give each other during that journey.
Well, I had already gone through my breast cancer in 2005 and 2006. And I met her when I was a little girl, but then, she was obviously a hero to me, but I'm one of the little fans that she had. And then I met her as an adult through Barry Gibb, who lives in that area where you're at, Miami. Right. He and I are really close friends, and he introduced me to her as an adult. And we got to talking, and she said, I understand you've had breast cancer. And I said, yes. Hers had been many years before mine. And, it's just the wisdom that she carried, the compassion, the ability to make you feel safe. And she always... she really dug into doing the natural way, the natural homeopathic ways of healing. And she was always a teacher for me from the time that I met her until the day she passed, of just wanting to make sure and mentor me and anybody else that was around her. She was just a guiding light for everyone. And she always wanted to make sure I was taking care of myself and taking the proper, vitamins and getting enough rest. And I remember one specific conversation that we had. I was performing in Florida, and she drove 3 hours to come see me perform. And we walked around the fairgrounds at the Florida State Fair that I was performing at, arm in arm. And she was telling me things that she'd learned from some natural treatments. And she really wanted me to go to Mexico with her and learn some things. And I wished I had done some things along with her. She would get vitamin infusions, and she always encouraged me to do those. And I almost went to Georgia to do that with her, and I regret now that I did not. I just think she was full of just incredible advice. And I think in being around her, it's given me the ability and the courage to want to encourage others. And I believe that's where my book came from. At first, when I was first diagnosed, I didn't really want to share my story because I just wanted it behind me. And then the longer I grew to know her, the longer the years went out, I realized it would be quite selfish of me to have some type of wisdom and some life that I've lived since the diagnosis to not share with others. And once I put my feelings down on paper, it just seemed to just be an easy journey for me. And I'm really grateful that I was able to do that.
I think, every family at some point is touched by this. And my grandmother passed from breast cancer, and my mom was a breast cancer survivor as well. And, so I think a lot of people, go through, the struggles of having a family member or themselves going through this, this battle. But, listening to, your audiobook, first of all, it's told by yourself. You're the narrator, which I think is amazing because, what better, who better to find out or listen to an audiobook about the person themselves. And so talk about, your journey going through that the audiobook, doing it yourself? I mean, were there times where it got emotional, obviously, or talk about your journey doing that? Because I know your husband, T.G. Sheppard, also had a piece of that book as well. So talk about the personal nature of doing that audiobook.
Well, the book itself came from a funny source. During the pandemic, all of us were stuck at home for many months, and
Yeah.
I realized that we needed to clean the garage out. I was looking for anything to do, and we started digging through the garage, and, he had a past of career accolades that I had never seen. Everything was boxed up for years. And same with me. I had so many things I had just boxed up, and we moved into this house together, and we just decided to go box by box and cleaned out all these things. I learned a lot about him and him, me. And all of a sudden I ran into this package of old papers that I had scribbled notes down. And I thought, what in the world, And what it was, it triggered this memory for me. The doctor had made me promise that I would either do a video for my children or write down exactly what happened to me, just in case I didn't survive. And I thought, how morbid is that,
Yeah.
But I took her advice and I just tucked the notes away, never showed anybody, but I just wrote down every detail that had happened to me. And I thought, maybe one day this will help somebody. And I never really thought much more about it. And that very night, my best friend had called me. She said, Kelly, I had the strangest dream about you last night. I dreamed you wrote a book and it helped a lot of people. And I said,
Wow.
I what? And I've never thought about writing a book. She says, I think you might need to. I said, does that have anything to do with these notes that I found? And she goes, as a matter of fact, I did dream that you found notes, and that's where you started. And then you went backwards and frontwards, and how far you've come since then. She says, it really did well. And I'm like, oh, great. So it encouraged me and yet frightened me at the same time. So
Yeah.
I began writing just all my stories down, and it just flew from me. I wrote the whole book within 3.5 months.
Wow.
And I know, and most books take a lot longer than that, but I really felt that it was divine intervention. And we were able to debut the book on Huckabee's show, which made it even more successful, and more people were aware of it because of the national television.
Right.
But fast forwarding through that, because my husband, T.G. Sheppard, was with me, although we weren't married at the time, he was with me. I felt that it was really important from a man's perspective or from a partner's perspective to share what it feels like on the outside,
Yeah.
and to encourage other men possibly to understand how to communicate with their wives going through this. And when I decided to do the audiobook, I'd been putting that off for a while because it's a lot and it is emotional. You can write things down on paper and you don't feel the emotional attachment with it sometimes. But when you do record it, I have to admit, I cried.
Yeah.
I had to break away a few times from it, because when you hear it back in your own voice and you relive the story again, it's really emotional. But 18 years from now, I am out of being diagnosed, and I'm proud of that. I'm really grateful, and I feel like I've got, pearls of wisdom to be able to share with people, and that's really precious to me.
Well, I think it's and I think I believe in I believe in that as well. And I mean, divine intervention. I think that it was God's way of saying that, you can help a lot of people by this, and maybe you don't know who those people are, but you're helping people. I mean, period. And the fact that you did the audiobook as well. I think for me, I love listening to people speak, like podcasts like we're doing right now. And I think to listen to somebody's voice talk about something, I think it just makes it that much more powerful.
When people have heard the audiobook, one of the common threads or the common denominator that people have, they say that it's like sitting across from me at a kitchen table and me just telling them my story. It's a real easy read, and it's a real easy example of what I went through. And it takes away some of the fears for people, I think. So thank you for letting me share that.
And I'm like, just congratulations on all that, and
Well, thank
the
you.
success of the book, and hopefully my listeners, you can gain some new fans from my listeners as well. But the one thing is listening to your music. I have to talk about this because your voice is angelic. I really love your voice. And
thank you, Dave.
So at what point did you know that music was going to be your future?
Thank you for the compliment, by the way. That's very sweet of you. The song "I'm Not Going Anywhere" that I named the book after was a song I wrote before I was diagnosed with cancer, and it ended up in an Ascension Hospital commercial nationwide. And I had so many beautiful letters written to me from people that were affected by it and felt that it was helpful to them, especially during the pandemic, to comfort them. And that's where the title for that book came from.
Take my hand, don't let go. Look in my eyes and in my soul. Hold me close, hold me near. Please let go of all your fear. I'm not going anywhere. Seasons change with the wind, but I'll be here till the end. Friends may come and then they go, but there's one thing you should know: I'm not going anywhere. I'd give my heart to you if yours stopped beating. Part your lips with mine. If you weren't breathing, you have no burden that I wouldn't bear. I'm not going anywhere.
But to answer your question about when I first decided I wanted to sing, my dad began working for the late legendary country music artist Conway Twitty when I was 1 year old. And I used to go to Conway's concerts and just watch how exciting it was. And the fans, they loved him and screamed and just were so ecstatic. And he was just a singer, never really talked much on stage. And I thought, man, that is amazing. I want that,
Yeah.
And even though I was just 6, 7 years old when I really, began to put that, together, I decided that that's what I wanted for my future. I had to work on my skill of singing or writing or whatever that may be, to catch up with my desire. I suppose it took some time, but boy, I knew what I wanted at a very young age.
Yeah, I mean it's amazing. I know you've written for some iconic people as well, and like you said, you performed with Olivia Newton-John and Barry Gibb and Paul Shaffer, and I mean you've also have graced the stage at Grand Ole Opry multiple times, which I've had several country singers on the show, and a couple of them have performed there, and some of them haven't. But I mean that would be like like the Super Bowl if you're a country singer to be able to stand on that stage and be able to perform at the Grand Ole Opry. I mean, what was the first time like for you?
Well, it is always a little nerve-wracking to stand in that circle. There's a circle of wood that they took from the original Ryman Auditorium that was the original home for the Grand Ole Opry. So when you step into that circle, the greats have come before you, the Kitty Wells, the Loretta Lynn's, the, Roy Acups, all these people that began country music. So you feel really, it's an energy there that is unlike any place I've ever performed. I'm really lucky that I was able to sing duets there with my husband, TG, and Barry Gibb as well. So it's a family, it's a united group of people that it uniquely is connected through music, and it's a beautiful energy there.
Yeah, I mean, just amazing. I guess overall, in your travels and all the places that you've performed, do you have a favorite venue that you played?
I think my favorite would be the Ryman, although it's smaller than the Opry House. Oh my goodness, the acoustics there, the history there. It was a church to begin with. They call it the Mother Church. And
Right.
it's right downtown Nashville, and it has beautiful stained glass windows. Every seat is a great seat. That's probably my favorite. As far as places like concerts I've performed, There's just so many. I couldn't even name one. I tell you, one of the most special nights that I had was when I sang actually with Barry Gibb again at the induction for Kenny Rogers into the CMA Country Music Hall of Fame.
Yes.
That was a really special night.
Amazing. Yes.
Yeah, it was incredible. Garth Brooks and Barbara Mandrell and Charlie Pride and I mean, you name it, everybody was there that night, and it was very magical.
No, I want to ask you this. The country music has really evolved more into mainstream lately and for the past several years. And what are your thoughts on that and the notoriety of some of the country singers and some people crossing over into country from other genres? And so I know country music has always been like, gospel, kind of like, a sacred thing. And is that something that you welcome, or is that good for the music industry to have to see all the the people crossing over into country music now?
Well, I would be quite hypocritical if I didn't say yes, it's great. But I think all great music is great music.
Right.
The things that used to be considered rock are now considered more country, like the Eagles, let's say.
Yeah.
And it kind of blends together. I grew up, of course, with Conway's music, but my mom always had Gladys Knight or Frankie Valli or Elvis in the house, so I just love great music.
Yeah.
And I have been really enjoying going back and recording old soul songs. And I've got 2 albums out right now, Old Soul 1 and Old Soul 2, that
Yep.
I've created. I have a country flair to my voice, so it adds to a different flair for the music itself. But man, like I said, I'd be hypocritical if I said I didn't like rock bleeding into country, because it's definitely a passion of mine.
LA proved too much for the man. He couldn't make it, so he's leaving a life he's come to know. Said he's going back to find what's left of his world, the world he left behind not so long ago. He's leaving on that midnight train to Georgia. Yeah. Said he's going back to find simpler place and time. Oh yes he is. He said he would. I'll be with him on that midnight train to Georgia. I'd rather live in his world than live without him in mine.
Now, I will say some of the new country stuff that's out now, some of it's not my favorite. I like maybe the 80s or 90s style of music better as far as like considered country music. I'm not a big, let's drink beer in my truck over and over and over again kind of song.
Yeah.
But some of it is really great.
Well, just for my listeners, I mean, some of the songs that you've covered, I mean, we got Midnight Train to Georgia, Careless Whisper, Every Time You Go Away. I mean, some of these, Missing You, What's Love Got to Do with It? I mean, there's some amazing songs on your albums that you came out with. And, like I said, I implore my listeners to go out and get this, on the streaming platforms that, Kelly Lang, because it's amazing. Anything you sing is just, like I said, just easy on the ears. So, can't wait to see what else is coming up. So what can we expect, out there? Do you have anything that you're working on currently?
Well, yes, I do. As a matter of fact, thank you for asking. Yes, people know me from singing, remakes of songs. And Olivia Newton-John used to call me after I would release one, and she would say, Kelly, thank you for recording these. I keep it on in the background when I have dinner parties at my house, which that's what I was hoping. It's an album you just kind of easy listening, put on kind of thing. But people forget that I'm also a songwriter.
Right.
So I just coming up on May the 5th, Olivia put out an album before she passed, or was putting together an album before she passed, of all of the duets that she's ever done in her whole entire career. And Dolly Parton, John Travolta, John Cicada, Barry Gibb, Paul Anka, Marie Osmond, Mariah Carey, and me. So she's done, many more. There's many more that I can't even remember all of the names on there. But our album will be out May the 5th. Her single with Dolly just went number 1 on iTunes. So I'm really, really proud of that.
Awesome.
I'm excited to be part of that project. But as far as my writing goes, I'm going to be putting out an EP of all originals this summer. And one song that I have written, Lorrie Morgan has cut along with a couple of other songs for her upcoming album. But it's called, I Think It's Jesus. And it's going to be coming out, from my perspective, June the 2nd. So I'm really excited to share that with you. A video will be coming out with that as well.
It's amazing. Kelly, with your career, we have a lot of listeners that are just getting started in the industry, and I think it'd be such valuable advice if you could give them kind of a word or two of inspiration. So, what kind of advice can you give our new listeners out there?
Jokingly, I say run, don't come to Nashville. but to be truthful, I just think it's wonderful that people have the courage to come. I hope that people can just work up their own confidence to stay in their own lane. Don't try to be like anybody else. Don't try to be like the Carrie Underwoods or Taylor Swifts. Find your uniqueness, because that's what's going to stand out. I suggest that you really hone your skills on social media, because it is a gift that I didn't have when I first began. Luckily, I'm able to utilize it now, but it is a wonderful tool where you sometimes don't even need what we used to think as a record label. You have a lot of the power in your own hands. And, just confidence to take yourself seriously. You're your first fan. And I think everybody should just believe in themselves, because you got to believe in yourself before other people will start believing in you.
That's amazing advice. Love to hear that. Just be yourself. I think some people try to mimic too many other people. And like you said, just be yourself, and you'll gather your own fan base by just being yourself eventually, right?
Yeah, you'll stand out. I noticed I look nothing like anybody in the music industry. I don't want to. I don't try to. I'm just doing me, and I'm having a ball. And it's just so much fun when you're being authentic. I think people can really pick up on that. Yeah. And when you're trying too hard to be exactly like somebody else, we've already got those. We don't need that again. We need to have some uniqueness in this world.
100%. When it's all said and done, what do you want your legacy to be? What do you want people to think of when they think of Kelly Lang?
The question is asked upon every artist. Anytime somebody meets somebody that they wanted to meet, were they nice? That's all that people say. Oh, wow, were they nice? That's all I really care about. If somebody leaves me better than they came to me. And I just want my music, whether it be my book, whether it be something I might have said to them, to leave them feeling better about themselves than when they came in my presence.
That's amazing. And Kelly, again, we can't thank you enough for being on the show. Best of luck again with your book, I'm Not Going Anywhere. It's already been successful, but again, with the audio book, just for our listeners, make sure that you go check that out. And thank you again. Just an honor to have you on the show, Kelly.
Well, thank you. If you can tell your listeners to go to kellylang.net, they can keep up with anything current that's coming out. And I really love to talk to everybody on social media as they come through. So I encourage everybody to go to Kelly Lang Music on all of those platforms.
Definitely check that out, everybody. Kelly Lang Music and kellylang.net. So check that out. And again, you're welcome on the show anytime, Kelly, and best of luck in your future.
You are so kind. Thank you, Dave.